Published by THQ, developed by AWE Games, and brought to you by Nick Games again. So our story starts at the Retroville Museum on a boring field trip with Miss Fowl. So the class is at the steam engine exhibit at the Retroville Museum, right next to a time machine. And Jimmy is complaining that it's the second time they've been on the same tour of the same old exhibit and nothing ever changes.
Wow, I am constantly amazed by Miss Fowl's ability to make something as exciting as science sound so boring. Man, this is the second time this year we've been on Miss Fowl's same old tour of the same old exhibits. Nothing ever changes here. Can't anything ever be different?
Oh, but it can be. And somewhere in another dimension, things are different. Very different.
We're then introduced to Jimmy Negatron, an evil version of Jimmy from another dimension, and his robot, Herman. Herman is a complete idiot, unlike Goddard, and Jimmy Negatron is an evil person. He wants to switch places with Jimmy in the real dimension and screw up the entirety of Retroville. In order to do this, he has to kidnap Jimmy Neutron whenever he activates one of his inventions, lock onto the signal.
I'm going to take your place in your world and change it just for fun, okay? No, you can't! Oh, yeah.
After Jimmy Negatron leaves for Jimmy Neutron's dimension, Jimmy Neutron tricks Herman into letting him out of the cage, and then tells Herman to go hide in the broom closet. Upon leaving the cage, Jimmy Neutron decides that he needs to get through the portal and back to his dimension. But in order to turn off the laser gate, he has to combine a couple items to hit the button on the opposite side of the platform. However, upon combining the items, the robots in the room begin attacking and he has to shoot down every single robot in the room. However, didn't realize it, he accidentally walked into a trap set by Negatron, as Negatron knew he would escape the lab, and changed the coordinates so Jimmy Neutron would stay stuck in his dimension. Jimmy Neutron takes Goddard and drives through the forest, escaping a overflow water pit, chasing after him, crossing through a forest, a canyon, and a coal mine, and eventually reaching the harbor. Upon reaching a score criteria, you move up the rank system. However, it is pointless since there is no reward. Upon landing at the harbor, we have to assemble a submarine. Now, the one complaint I have is the controls. They are really bad. They are so bad it's even difficult to do any of the platform levels. And if you drop just 3 feet, you automatically die. Sometimes you just randomly clip through an edge and go to the ground, but you always respawn like 3 seconds right before you died. Upon getting to the top of the warehouse, we are finally able to operate the crane and assemble the submarine. After assembling the submarine, we are finally able to navigate underwater and return back to Neutron's lab. However, to get to Neutron's lab, we have to find a key, the door, and a crystal. FYI, the submarine has really bad control. You'll find the key in the sunken ship nearby. Like I said about controls, look how slow that submarine moves. After moving the boulder, we are able to get to the key. Now we gotta go find the crystal, which is in the nearby city. After moving yet another boulder, we are able to get to the crystal. And then Jimmy decides that we need to return to the door to open the crystal, obviously. After navigating through a maze, sort of, we make it back to Neutron's lab. Upon entry of the lab, we have to shoot down all the robots again. And let me talk about the shooting. It is really bad. Even if you have a perfect aim, you miss a lot. And the stopwatch doesn't make it any better. Upon returning to the museum, we find that Negatron has messed up the city, turning Carl into a fat ass, trapping Miss Fowl and Neutron's parents in the Egyptian level, the Egyptian exhibit, and Sydney is trapped in virtual reality.
Look at all the bugs in the system.
Our first task is rescuing Sydney from
Come on,
virtual reality and restore Vox back to normal. Our vehicle of choice is supposedly antivirus program that looks like a bug sprayer. To traverse through the level, you have to open up the beams of light by shooting the little numbers. And then when you get to the end of the level, you have to shoot the main wasp to get to Sydney and restore Vox. And like I said about the shooting, it is still bad. We didn't reach Sydney and restore Vox and bring Sydney back out of virtual reality.
Oh, now that's cute.
And according to Sydney,
love, huh?
her and Jimmy are supposed to kiss, which is actually a trick by Jimmy Negatron.
It's a mess.
Upon entry of the lab, we find out that Jimmy Negatron has screwed up the lab and has went back in time to Christmas to change the past.
It appears that
We have to follow Jimmy Negatron through 3 stages of time: Christmas, Halloween, and 4th of July. We first reach Halloween and make chase after Jimmy Negatron. And we also find little goodies throughout each of the time stages.
Super jump.
After tapping Jimmy Negatron enough times, we go to Christmas and hop on guarded and travel through the snowy streets. And like I said earlier, the control is bad.
Radar.
You slide all over the place, and sometimes it's difficult just to even get up to him. Oh, and let's talk about the camera. What a good time for the camera to screw up is when you're chasing someone. In the 4th of July segment, you have to use your jetpack. After defeating Jimmy Negatron enough times, we go into the house
Vinegar.
and take a break. Yes, we take a break. We also find out that he messed up his bedroom. And now there's an octopus sticking out of the bathtub. And apparently he stole some stuff from the museum by the looks of it. We eventually return back to the museum and make our way to downtown. Upon reaching downtown, we found out that Jimmy Negatron turned Carl into a monster and we have to feed him. Apparently food equals weight loss. Do the math. And one more time about the controls. Really bad. After shooting enough food in Carl, he finally returns back to normal. After he returns back to normal, he starts questioning about Jimmy's strange behavior lately, and Carl is informed that that was Jimmy Negatron. We then go back to the museum and go to the Egyptian exhibit to find out that Negatron has trapped Miss Fowl as a mummy in a half of a casket. We have to traverse through the exhibit consisting of platforming, water, and sand tornadoes. Yes, sand tornadoes. I don't even know how that's possible inside a building. And then we have to do some small puzzle solving, like matching orbs to make a certain color to open the door. We then traverse up the period with even more platforming. After finally climbing the period, Miss Fowl is freed and is convinced that that was Jimmy Negatron, and she believes him. We didn't find out that Jimmy's parents were captured by Negatron and hid in the pyramid. We have to traverse through the pyramid to get the keys to open the cage, even though it would have been easier just to walk through the cage. However, the pyramid is filled with traps, such as a false floor, some more platforming, even more platforming, some shooting switches to activate the platforms, even more platforming. I died about 50 times right here. We didn't have to shoot mummies and make our way through the end of this section to get the first key. After getting the first key, we have to slide down a cannon, avoiding a boulder, and then we land in the water pit, and I have to traverse through a water pit, eventually having to avoid the swinging arms of spikes. However, this part gets easier after acquiring a slow time stop. Eventually we find the second key and the parents are freed. Upon reaching the purple fart factory, we have to battle Herman by burping at him. Yes, burping at him. And then we make our way through the factory to find where the black furp is being manufactured and shoot all the black furp cans off production line. After shooting enough cans, Jimmy Negatron decides to go at an all-out battle by launching the dinosaurs. We have to kill all the mechanical dinosaurs with water balloons. The dinosaurs are difficult to aim for, as some of them are located in the sky, and some of them are chasing school buses or just picking up a car and throwing it to the ground. One more time about the controls. It is difficult to do anything. It's difficult to walk, it's difficult to fly, it's difficult to navigate underwater. After shooting out all the dinosaurs, eventually Jimmy Negatron retreats back to his lab. However, Jimmy says that he left a little surprise to Carl. When Jimmy Negatron returns, he found out that Jimmy's surprise was being trapped in his own cage. At some point in time, Herman went back and stole Jimmy Neutron's mailbox for whatever reason. Jimmy Negatron tries to convince Herman that he is Jimmy Negatron, not Neutron, and he's got the wrong person, but Herman's not buying it. And Herman thinks that Negatron's actually the real Neutron, and the real Negatron's back in the real dimension. That's the end of the game. What I want to point out is, if you play Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius on the PC, you notice that all the controls are the same, and it's the exact same game engine. Another thing is that how flat the dialogue is. I mean, it's the same actors from the show, but it looks like a rush job to me. Even the graphics were reused from Boy Genius. Now talk about how quiet the sound was. I had it all the way cranked up. And talk about the use of public domain music. The tomb level uses Middle Eastern Fantasy by World Music Masters. The actual track is even longer and a lot better sounding than this. The shipyard uses Closer to You by Master of Sex, a porn sounding song in a children's game. So the game was alright. I mean, it's worth playing like once or twice, but it takes about 2 hours to beat, assuming you can master your controls, if possible. It's kind of glitchy. It looks like an early Nintendo 64 game, but I liked it.